Module 14, the glimpse phrase. When you use this simple signal, watch his eyes change as a fantasy blooms in his mind of how amazing the future could be with you. I'm sure you want to build a beautiful life with the man of your dreams, right? But how do you convey that to him? How do you give him a taste of it to whet his appetite? That's what the glimpse phrase is all about. It's about sparking his imagination so that his imagination does all the work for you. What is the signal or phrase? The glimpse phrase is something you say to activate his imagination. You choose words that forecast pleasure. If he wants that pleasure, he'll be attracted to what he hears. Most people try to convince others with logic, but that only goes so far. One of the main problems with logic is that people naturally look for counter-arguments or weak spots in your argument. Emotion is different. Change someone's emotions and they'll come up with their own reasons to justify their actions with logic. And the easiest way to change someone's emotions is to tap into their imagination. Don't try to convince him that you're the right person. Don't tell him the reasons why a committed relationship is in his own best interest. Instead, trigger his imagination and let it do the work for you. How? By asking him to imagine possibilities, but never filling in the details. Make his imagination fill in the blanks. Your job is simply to get the ball rolling, and you do that with simple phrases that spark the right kinds of conversations. Example phrases. Surprisingly, the best way to use this phrase is actually a question, like this. What do you think would happen if we tried to break all the rules and lived full throttle toward being happy, instead of just hoping for happiness? He's naturally going to have some follow-up questions for you if you pop an unusual question like this, and it's during those follow-up questions that he realizes you're serious. He gets a glimpse of the belief you hold in your mind, the belief that his life could be happier, more adventurous, more exciting, and more fun with you by his side than it ever could have been without you. Here's another way to phrase your initial question. Would you be interested in breaking the mold? This question implies there is a mold, meaning a boring sameness to the patterns relationships follow. It doesn't say it outright, which makes it hard for the conscious mind to fight against. This question creates a mental frame that opens his mind to a new possibility, the possibility that you are inviting him into something special, something unique. When he asks you what exactly you're inviting him to participate in, describe your belief in the power of intentional pursuit of each other's happiness. Essentially, you are suggesting the two of you use the active ingredients of true love, an oath to each other's happiness and selfless abandon. But don't try to tell him exactly how it would all unfold. Instead, invite him to imagine it with you. Let his imagination play with this idea. Don't fall into the role of someone trying to convince him it would work. Here's another phrase to open this kind of discussion. I'm not afraid to build an adventurous life with you. If you want, you can add this follow-up phrase. What do you think would be different in our lives if we had no fear of failure and we just went after the most brilliant kind of life we could imagine? Why does it work? It makes him fantasize about possibility. As a result, the idea of having a relationship with you takes on a special kind of quality. It becomes an open doorway instead of the end of choice and possibility. You see, one of the things that holds us back from making a commitment has to do with the nature of choices themselves. So long as you hesitate, all the choices remain open to you. But as soon as you make a choice, you have constricted your options. So ask him questions with that special what-if quality. Because that kind of question frames a future with you as a new beginning rather than the end of his option to explore. Example story. Laura came to me for help with a long-term committed relationship. She was only 24, but she seemed mature and responsible for her age. Her description of John suggested he was at the opposite side of the maturity continuum. While Laura held a steady job, she had to get up early each day to drive John to his job because he had lost his license due to a DUI charge, driving while under the influence of alcohol. During our first meeting, Laura broke down in tears. I'd asked her why she felt so lonely in her relationship, and that led to a very painful topic. She spoke of a recent abortion. She said John refused to even talk with her about it, let alone comfort her. She had mixed feelings about the irrevocable decision she had made, and she was grieving alone because she could not bring herself to talk with others about her decision. John had been slightly against the abortion, and now Laura was wondering if that was part of the reason he seemed to be dragging his feet about getting married. They were already living together and sharing expenses, but John seemed to push her away on an emotional level. There was no romance, little passion outside of physical intimacy, and Laura began to wonder what kind of future she would have with John. I'm not using their real names, so I can tell you the honest truth. Part of the reason she was seeking my advice was to see if I would recommend that she leave him, but I could sense her hesitancy to do so. She clearly still had deep feelings for this man. In Laura's case, the solution was the glimpse phrase. She used it to reawaken John's interest in committing to a future with her. For several weeks in a row, I asked Laura to use what-if questions while talking with John in the evenings. They often took long walks together down a quiet country road near their home. It was during these walks that Laura began to give John glimpses of possibility. She never asked him for a commitment. She never asked him to make a choice. She simply spoke of the new beginnings that would unfold if they committed to going after happiness as a team. It's much easier to commit to something you already want, like happiness, and that's why it lowers the barrier to picturing yourself with a person who wants to help you get there. Laura disappeared for several months. When she made another appointment with me, I was surprised to hear the upbeat tone of her voice. She was genuinely happy, planning a wedding, and asking for advice about something else entirely. When I asked her how John was responding to the glimpse phrase method, she said, "Oh, I don't have to do it anymore. Now he's the one always talking about our future." I think I had become so focused on the problems that I didn't realize how much I had stopped talking about anything fun. That's the secret power of the glimpse phrase. It gets you both talking about something fun, something you want, and how to get there, together as a team.